Hey everyone. Hi. Long time no speak. Yes, it is me, Prophet. I am back. Again, I just want to start off by apologizing for my absence and the lack of content. Been working like a fucking savage here recently, and a lot of personal stuff has come up that I've had to deal with that's taken up a lot of my time. But I am back and ready to create more content on the pig roach himself, DarksydePhil, Philip Paul Burnell, aka Loser. Now, this video is going to look into and delve into Phil begging for this new computer. Now, I was on today's pre-stream on Raw DSP, and you know, Phil just went off, and we're gonna play a video here of him going off here this morning, basically misinformation, which again is against YouTube TOS. Lying about the camera, lying about his PC specs, and then we're actually going to watch the video of on the CyberPower PC where he discusses the specs of the computer. And then we're going to come up with the answers. Does Phil need a new PC? It's a very easy answer. I can answer right now. No. So let's watch this video here. This is this morning's pre-stream Goutcast, and let's see where Phil fucked up.
I just want to let you know everything's working again. I just need to tweet out that we're live and post on the community page that we're live, and then we can get started. Sorry for the stupid tech difficulties. Dumb fucking old PC, man. Alright, 1 second here. Over here. There. And then I need to post over on the channel page. This weird glitch has been going on sometimes on my desktop with Twitter of all things, where the page won't load. I go on Twitter and I click on, twitter.com or even twitter.com in the notifications page, and it just shows the Twitter logo and it won't load the fucking page. This is the second time I've restarted the PC and it's done this, and I don't know what causes it. So now I'm doing it from my laptop, which is fine. Thank God I have the laptop up and running, because it would be a pain in the ass to be copy pasting and shit on the phone. Okay. All right, you guys ready to start? Sorry for the delay. Let's get this show on the road. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delayed start today. Here on the pre-stream podcast, had some technical difficulties, which happens every once in a while with this setup that I have that's incredibly outdated. In this case, I tried to turn on the podcast and my mic was muted. I'm like, oh, this happens every once in a while. I tried to close OBS to restart it and it wouldn't close. It just hung. When that happens, it means that there's some kind of a big driver failure. The only way to fix it is to restart your computer entirely. So I had to do that and ended up.
Okay. So right off the bat, he has no fucking idea what he's talking about. If you're hearing that beeping in the background, that's just my Discord blowing up. I've got a lot of other detractors, people messaging me here, asking me about certain situations with Phil and this new PC that he wants. Now, when it hangs, Control-Alt-Delete, right? Bring up Task Manager. The program's hung, just end task. But Phil's thing is, no, it's a driver issue. Yeah, no, it's not, Phil. Like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. He's trying to sound smart to all the children that are in his chat and are watching him live. You can see all the view bots down below, 145 watching. I think at the beginning of the stream, he had like 200 and some plus, and then when he hit reset, it dropped all the way down to 2. So, there weren't that many people watching to begin with. And then it went on for like a half an hour. But let's just continue on.
Taking some extra time. Anyway, ladies and gents, welcome to the pre-stream podcast. Today is Thursday, the 12th of May, 2022. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We really do. We got the schedule to talk about with the upcoming marathon event. I have some preliminary results of the cuisine poll for Feasting with the King, which is very interesting because right now it is completely up in the air, which I'm shocked at that. We got to talk about some game news today. Some ground shaking, chaos inducing, landscape changing game delays. How exciting.
Fuck
Talk
you,
about
Phil.
games, major games being delayed, changing the entire landscape of 2022 in a big way. So we got quite a good amount of stuff to talk about on today's pre-stream podcast, okay? First of all, before we even get to all of that, we should talk a little bit more about the changes that I made to my content and my streams yesterday and the feedback that I've gotten from you guys about it. First of all, you may notice there's a new overlay down there. Take a look at that, right? Looks pretty cool. Or if we switch...
Now, this overlay isn't new. All he did is he changed the color palette within OBS, and it can be easily done. Meerkat explained it yesterday, how easy it is. This isn't like this technical breakthrough that he makes it out to be. He just changed the color palette. That's all he did. Made absolutely no difference. Let's continue on.
Over very quickly to my game capture setup here. You'll notice, if I can get this to work, where is it? Where is it? There it is. The new overlay over here. As you can see, my new webcam border, right? And I have all these different colors I can do. As you can see, this one is orange, which is kind of neat. And we'll be using that for today's gameplay of the Forgotten City. But I have a lot of other colors available, including green, red, and blue. All right, so good variety now with the layouts and everything that I can actually use on the streams. Pretty neat. This is a new addition and new improvement that I did. And of course, shout out to the person who helped me out with this. Obviously, humongous improvement to the stream, right? Now, another thing that I wanted to improve was that you guys over the years have been asking me to improve the quality of my webcam. Because when I'm streaming gameplay, not now when I'm on screen for, a podcast or whatever, but when I'm streaming gameplay, you guys have told me my webcam is too blurry, and you don't like the webcam because it's blurry. You don't like the...
It's still blurry. Like, it didn't change fuck all. Right? He says he's got it in 1080p. Great. Big fucking deal. Okay, you're going from 480p, 720p, 1080p. It still looks fucking horrible.
The face cam. Improve the face cam. Why don't I do 1080p face cam like everybody else? All right. So I said, well, if we're already improving the layout and everything, now would be a time to institute some more changes. But the reason why I didn't do it over the years is very simple. It's not that my webcam doesn't have 1080p capabilities. Obviously, it does. Look, I'm doing it right now. But this webcam is small. And what I mean by that is...
This doesn't even look 1080p. The color gradient's fucked because he's got his settings screwed up on it. He's just got his camera turned on. He sets 1080p capture, and that's it. And now he's going to go into the size of the fucking lens, which set off so fucking many people this morning. Let's continue.
The lens, I'm not exaggerating. This is the size of the lens. Look, it's not even as big as my nostril. It's not even as big as a tooth. The lens is absolutely tiny on my webcam. For those who know about cameras and optics, the bigger the lens, the better the quality visuals, period. Like, that's...
False. And this is a lie. This is misinformation, number one. Lenses get smaller because the technology gets smaller. Right? It doesn't matter really the size of the lens unless you're like on the fucking Hubble or the Webb Space Telescope, right? That's different. Those are different. When you're talking about camera like webcams, your phone cameras, things like that, unless you're using like some high-end $5,000 DSLR camera, the lenses are all small. Then they have optic or digital zoom or telescopic zooms, right? Like that's the technology. Just because you have a camera doesn't mean the lens on the inside is really, really big, Phil. That is not how it works. And this is misinformation number one. Let's continue.
Kind of the rule of thumb. That's why photographers don't use tiny little cameras. They use ones with big ass lenses. That's why over the years, if you haven't noticed, the size of the lens on like the iPhone has actually grown on the back.
It's funny here because this is his iPhone 6 he's talking about here. He's pointing to his iPhone 6, which is like 7 fucking generations behind.
Back of the phone to increase the quality of the visuals that camera can do. Okay? So, even though this camera can do 1080p, increasing the quality from 480p to 1080p isn't necessarily going to increase the quality of what you see on my streams and in my videos.
Yes, it will. Going from 480p to 1080p is a massive increase in visual quality. You have more pixels per screen, right? You have a sharper image, a more high definition image, right? But Phil's going to explain it in autistic detail for us. So let's listen.
And the major problem here, okay, is that when I increase the quality, it actually eats up a lot extra of my processor.
Wrong. That is not how it works. Now, Phil will have you believe that his webcam uses up like 90% of his CPU power. And we're going to go into this when we look at Phil's specs on the piece of shit CyberPower PC he bought back in 2014 and did the unboxing on. Let's just put it this way. Phil runs an Intel HEDT system. So think about that for a second as we continue here.
Which I know sounds stupid because it really is. There's no reason that my processor should have extra taken up, but it absolutely does. So to give you some perspective, let's switch back over to this scene. This is now 1080p visuals. What you're seeing right now is 1080p. Okay?
Okay, now I'm on a screen that's 3440 by 1440, and I also have it connected to my home theater system, which is 4K on a 120-inch screen. That 1080p looks like shit. Like, seriously looks like shit. It's blurry, it's fuzzy. Like, Phil needs to sharpen the image, he needs to adjust the zoom, he needs to adjust the color gradient, but he's too stupid to do that, and we'll get into that here in a little bit.
Does it look 1080p? All day yesterday, I had this camera on 1080p, and a lot of people were like, well, did you turn it on? Did you improve it yet? I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, we can't tell. I'm like, no shit. That's what I was telling you guys for years and years. I was saying that's what I knew would happen. You know, I knew that changing the quality wasn't going to necessarily...
Now, if you saw there was that pause, and you can see how it's pixelating on us, right? The camera itself. But the rest of the stream that Phil has going hasn't changed. And we'll get into this here in a little bit.
...necessarily look better on the stream, because it really is a limitation of the hardware at this point. This webcam that I'm using right now is a webcam that I bought probably like 10 years ago, or even more than that. It might be. I'm trying to remember, because I remember using this webcam to do picture-in-picture stuff back when I was editing videos on YouTube back in the day, and we were doing things like motion control.
No, that's another lie. Phil never did editing. All the editing was done by Rambo and Howard back in the day before he moved to Washington. They did it all for Phil. Phil did none of it because, again, Phil is too stupid. And we're going to get into that when we discuss how he doesn't understand his OBS.
Games and shit like that. I would have this webcam set up. I would have my digital camera set up, and I would do picture-in-picture video using it. So, yeah, this camera is 1080p, if you can believe it, but look at the quality of this webcam right now. You don't really notice it, do you?
Yeah, because you didn't adjust any of the settings. You just set 1080p and away you went. You're going to have to adjust your settings, Phil. You're going to have to go into OBS. You're going to have to set your encoder. You're going to have to set a proper bitrate. You're going to have to install your webcam software possibly, or adjust it within Windows. It's not just plug in, turn it on, and go, hey guys, I'm DarksydePhil, give me money. But that's basically what you have done.
So here's what happened. Yesterday, Hold on a second. Yesterday, I had the 1080p webcam all day long, okay?
A little gin.
And for the first stream, which was WWE, all right, 2K22, seemed fine. Didn't seem to negatively affect the stream or the video quality at all. Everything was good. And everyone was like, all right, fine. But then I played Halo Infinite multiplayer. And this is where it really started to hurt. Because already when I'm playing Halo Infinite multiplayer, super action-packed, first-person game, tons of things going on the screen. You're running, you're shooting, there's graphical things going crazy. Very rarely in the Halo are you just standing around, right? So guess what? My stream and the quality of it declined. Not only...
Okay. So again, we've been over this before in the past. That has nothing to do with Phil's PC and everything to do with Phil's internet connection. Again, he's maxing out his upload. When he's streaming, he's uploading. He's uploading to YouTube. And Phil is only on, and my theory, can't prove it, but it's probably pretty close to 100% on this. He's got a 300 megabit down connection with 100 megabits up. Or not 100 megabits, sorry, 10 megabits up. So he's got a very, very bad upload. Now, within his OBS settings, we know this for a fact that Phil has his bitrate set to 14,000. We can get this with Nerd Stats through YouTube. We know what he's got his bitrate set to, which for 1080p is insane. I wouldn't even set that for 4K, let alone 1080p. He should be somewhere around 2,500, 3,000 maybe for a bitrate. Then his system won't pixelate. It won't slow down. It won't stutter. You won't have issues like that. But again, Phil thinks he's some high-end hotshot know-it-all. So he just jacks it all up. And this is what he had the problem in the past with Twitch and YouTube complaining about him running a high bit rate. Let's continue.
Only the stream, but even the on-demand videos. It got choppy in parts. And I know because I watched back the videos myself and I was like, ooh, yeah, it's chopping up, especially when there's a big firefight. I was playing shoddy snipers, and anytime I got close to someone with a shotgun and we're blowing away at each other with the shotguns, it would go frame rate. It would turn into a slideshow. Okay? That was because my CPU was literally maxing during those scenes. Okay? So...
No. If your CPU was maxing, I'm going to explain soon why it was maxing and how you fucked up.
So, during that stream, people were asking me, oh, well, can you change it? Can you lower it? I'm not doing it now. You know, if we want to change it on the fly later. So what it seems to me is, if I want to increase the quality of my webcam, it has to be a case-by-case basis. If I'm playing a game where there's not going to be a ton of action, where there's going to be, like, standing around or more static positioning.
Walking simulator, Phil. Just say walking simulator.
And it's not constant movement and constant frame rate changes and things, all right? Then it's fine to do 1080p webcam. But in a game like Halo, in a game, any game that's going to have high action...
See, like, it's chopping up there. His video is chopping up, literally chopping up now. He doesn't have 1080p set. He's in 480p mode. And it's still chopping up and pixelating. So it's not the PC, Phil.
High movement. I might have to lower it back to 720p or maybe even 480p. All right? It's just a necessary evil at this point. You know, when I get a new setup, hopefully sometime this year, it probably won't be a concern anymore, right? It'll probably be, oh, this is fine.
Oh, it'll definitely be a fucking concern. Not unless you change your internet.
Now, you know, I have a new webcam or camera. At that point, I don't even think I want a webcam anymore. I think I want either a digital camera or camcorder that can live stream into my new PC. And my new PC will have enough capabilities, whether it's through the GPU or the CPU, whatever it is that's going to be processing the encoding, we'll be able to handle all of this and not be maxing out when I'm doing it. Okay?
Okay. So, again, he doesn't understand how the encoding works. When you're using the CPU for encoding, your software encoding. When you're using the GPU, your hardware encoding with things like NVENC, AV1, which is the new one that's coming out with Intel's Arc GPU. And it's actually it's already available. You can already do it. Again, Phil doesn't understand this, and this is why Phil's streams suffer, because everything that he has done over the years has been set up completely wrong. Now we're going to look at the PC reveal from 2014. We're going to go over the specs of Phil's computer that he is currently using for streaming. Now remember, he only uses it to stream. He doesn't play games on it whatsoever. And the way Phil has his setup done is very, very poor. So how it's done is he's got 2 HDMI splitters. For whatever reason he has 2, I have no fucking idea. It then goes into his capture device, which I don't know what he has. I don't think he has an Elgato. So, because his encoder goes back to 2014 as well. And I'm not too sure on which encoder he uses because he's never said it. And I know it's an internal one. It's not a USB one, like the XR1s from EVGA, which are excellent, by the way. But it then goes from his capture card to his TV. Now remember, he's got a PS5 and an Xbox One, or Xbox Series X. And that is HDMI 2.1. Both of his splitters are HDMI 1.4. And then his capture card is HDMI 2.0A. It's not even 2.0B. And then it goes into his TV. So right away, like, he's downgrading signal coming from his consoles to his PC, and then, or through 2 HDMI splitters, which is going to fuck the signal up regardless, to his PC, and then to the TV. So let's take a look at the specs on this piece of shit CyberPower that he got back in 2014.
Case. So, you know, he's a crappy looking gaming keyboard. It really does look crappy. Look at that thing. It's pretty ugly. Ugh. Now, the most important part, the stats. This is what everyone's going to ask, Phil. What are the stats on the new PC? Can you tell us? Here we go. I'm about to read you the stats, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Here we go. It is... Can't read it. Oh. It is the ASA CFGX 79Z model case, okay, with USB keyboard and gaming mouse. Has an Intel i7 4930K 3.4 gigahertz retail level processor, which that's the 6-core processor. A 3 terabyte 7200 RPM SATA3 6 gigabyte a second 64 megabyte cache backup storage hard drive. It's got a 4 gigabyte 4 gigabyte sticks of Corsair Vengeance 1866 megahertz DDR3 RAM. It's got the EnterMax, hold on a second, EnterMax 120 millimeter black case fan installed. The Thermaltake CLP 0575 Frio OCK CPU cooler. Okay. The let's see, not that. The black LG 24-speed DVD RW drive. The motherboard is the Asus Sabertooth X79 Quad Crossfire Quad SLI SATA 3 USB 3.0 LGA 2011 motherboard. It's got the super clocked EVGA NVIDIA GTX 780 Ti 3GB GDDR5 PCI Express graphics card. Holy crap. It's got, let's see, hold on. Sound absorbing foam on the side, top, and bottom panels has been installed. So supposedly it's supposed to make less noise. The Corsair 80 plus RM1000 1000 watt fully modular power supply. Okay. It's got a 256 gigabyte ADATA SP900 SATA3 6 gigabyte per second solid state drive. That is for the operating system and for the essential programs like XSplit and the things that I'll be installing on here for streaming and capturing. Those will go on the solid state drive, while the secondary hard drive will be for the data storage. Windows 8.1 Pro 64-bit edition. And finally an extra, no, it's 4 EnterMax 120 millimeter black case fans. Those are the ones that are already installed. So in addition...
Okay, so there we have the specs on Phil's piece of shit computer. Now, what is this PC? It's an Intel Core i7 4930K processor, 6 cores, 12 threads. It's an HEDT processor. What does that mean? It's a high-end desktop processor from Intel. Now, back in the day, Intel used to have your dual core, your quad core processors for consumers. And the HEDT system, which on Phil's side is based off the X79, there's also the X99, the X299 for that Intel released later. This is their high-end, like basically workstation model processors for consumers, right? You have your Xeons and everything on top of that. So this was, at the time that Phil got this, was actually very decent. Now, 6 cores, 12 threads. Just think about that. Phil is stating that when he changes his webcam, it uses up 100% CPU usage. Like, seriously, a 12-year-old webcam is going to use 100% of a 6-core, 12-threaded processor? No. No. What's causing that? Probably the view bots that Phil has running in the background. Now, I kid. No, I'm serious. That's probably the view bots do have something to do with that. But again, Phil's computer is probably set up very poorly. Now, he's got a 256 gig SATA drive. He's probably got that filled and doesn't allow for the 10% over provisioning of the drive, which you need to do when you're on SATA. You got to have at least 10% of your drive free for over provisioning. If you use that up, then your CPU slows down. Or not CPU, but your hard drive will slow down. Now, he's also got the 780 Ti graphics card. He's got 16 gigs of quad channel memory. So for just a streaming system, just to stream 1080p, even 4K, this PC is overkill. Like, way overkill. I can do this off an Intel NUC dual core at 1080p if all I'm doing is streaming and not playing games. You don't need a high-end, massive system to stream at 1080p or 4K. Now, Phil is doing a capture device, so that's going to take up processing power, right? But again, that capture card, in conjunction with the graphics card, will do the hardware encoding for you. So it won't eat up CPU cycles unless Phil fucked up when he set up his OBS, or whoever set up his OBS for him. Now, does the 7080 Ti support hardware encoding? Yes, it does. GK110 supports NVENC one per chip, does hardware encoding. Okay? So if his stream, if it's true, if he's 100% true on this, which there's zero chance of him being true to this whatsoever, this means that Phil more than likely has it set to software encoding, which means it's using an H.264, but it's using CPU cycles. So Phil fucked up. He doesn't have it set properly in OBS. Now I'm going to open up my OBS here. And let's take a look at it. Now, as you can see, I have my video. My base and my output is set identical with 60 frames per second. Now, here's the output. So I haven't started streaming yet. So my video bitrate's only set to 2500 kbps with an audio bitrate of 320. Now, my recording is set to MKV, and the encoder is hardware NVENC, which is NVIDIA's hardware encoding, right? Now, if I was, let's see if I can drop this down. You can't. Okay, so basically what you have is, you'll have multiple, depending on what encoder or what codec you have installed, you may have a bunch of these. Your typical base is software, which is CPU, or hardware, which is NVENC. And I think AMD is just listed as AMD. Okay, and Intel will have AV1, but I believe OBS is going to need an update for that function. So that's where Phil's probably fucked up, and why his CPU is spiking to like 90% or 100% So he says. He's probably incorrect. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's probably just set it up very poorly. Now, looking at Phil's setup, remember, Phil doesn't turn his PC off at all, right? It sits on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So the memory doesn't have time to flush cache or whatever, right? So he's got to do that reset. For me personally, I shut my computer down every night when I'm done using it. I don't keep it running, right? So I won't run into like a normal person because Phil's not normal. He's a con artist. He's insane. He's a loser. He doesn't know anything when it comes to how his stream setup actually works. Okay. Now, what we're going to look at, because I'm going to look at my system, so I'm going to bring up Task Manager. We're going to look at performance. So currently, my CPU, I've got a 10 core, 20 threaded processor at 10900K from Intel. It's a 5.3 gigahertz overclock all core. Even though this is reading 4.33 or dropping down, it's incorrect. If I bring up CPU Z, it'll be different. So as you can see, I'm using roughly 2% of my CPU. And right now I've got OBS, I've got Chrome with 2, 4, 6, 8 tabs open. I've got my Discord running, I've got my G-Hub running, I've got my SXFI control panel running, right? So I've got a lot of stuff running, and not a lot of stuff, right? But it's still low. My memory usage is low, only 20%, but my video card, because I'm using hardware encoding, is using 40% of my graphics card. Now, I'll show you guys this here, because I did a little upgrade to my setup. I am now running a 3080 Ti instead of my 1080 Ti that I was using previously. So, yay me! I spent money that I didn't have. Great. So this is what Phil's system should roughly look like. Now, his CPU will probably be using more because he nearly has half the cores that I do. But again, like, if he would set hardware encoding, he would be fine. It would be giving NVENC. He would have a better image quality. If he would adjust his software for his webcam, improving color gradient, everything like that, it'll look better too. Do a better zoom. Like, take the time. Like, instead of drinking gin all night and doing Hogan polls, sit at your fucking stream, set up your OBS so you can see yourself on your fucking computer, and then just adjust settings and then take a look. Make it better for yourself. So the question needs to be asked again. Does Phil need a new PC? No. And Phil shouldn't be begging for money or begging for a cuck like OIC to be donating a PC to him. Okay? Now, play devil's advocate here. What if Phil actually does need a new PC, right? Does Phil need like a new $3,000 or $5,000 high-end gaming PC, 3080 Ti with 128 gigabits DDR5, right? Like, no. Phil is not going to game on his PC, okay? Phil is going to just use it for streaming. So Phil doesn't need a massive high-end system for streaming. You just don't. Now, unless you were gaming on that PC while streaming, then yes, you're probably going to need at minimum, I recommend 8-core system, 32 gigs of RAM, Elgato or an EVGA XR1 capture device, and at minimum, depending on what you want to game at, if you want to game at 1080p, 3060, right? 3060 or 6600 on the AMD side. That'll give you the power for doing the stream, enough memory for your games, 8 cores, 16 thread, right? So like a 12900K or like the new 5800 XT that was just released here, that'd be excellent, right? System like that, perfect. But again, Phil isn't gaming on his PC. The last time Phil gamed on his PC is when he played CSGO, and we all know how that fucking ended. SOK did a video on that, which was just hilarious. If you watch it, by all means, like, look it up for the SOK CSGO video of Phil, and then Phil starts complaining that the game is just too fast on PC. It's too fast. He can't handle it. And he just gets bodied over and over and over again. So, what would be recommended for Phil if Phil actually does need a new PC, which he doesn't? Okay. All I recommend for Phil is an Intel NUC. And this is 11th gen. This is United States pricing here. Now, this is just a bare bones system. So, what does this include? This includes your motherboard, processor, integrated audio, integrated LAN, integrated Wi Fi. Okay. Now, what's cool about these new ones here, the 11th gen, starting with the 11th gen and the new 12th gens that are available, but the 12th gens are still being released. They're not really out yet. So, you got dual HDMI and it's dual HDMI 2.1. Okay. You also have a 2.5 gigabit LAN. You have 4 USB. Now, some people may see this as, well, it's only got 4 USB, right? Just buy a little dinky USB hub, like a 10 port or a 7 port for like 30, 40 bucks. Get one from Vantech. I have one. I got a 10 port here for all my devices. So, and they're inexpensive and it increases your USB count. I just have a hub because I don't want to run all the wires all the way across my desk to my PC. Now, this also includes Wi-Fi AX. So you got Wi-Fi 6 AX201, which is excellent. You get the Intel Iris Xe graphics, so it's the newer graphics for Intel, which is integrated. And you get USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A, right? Fortunately, there's no USB-C on this. There is an upgraded model to this, but it's like $300 more, and all it does is adds Thunderbolt and USB-C. So it's not really needed. Now, this is just bare bones. This means there's no hard drive, no RAM. So, but how much is that going to cost? So we have this here. So this is $659.99. So $660 American. Now I'm on Memory Express. This is the site that I use because I'm in Edmonton, Canadian. So these are Canadian pricing. So all Phil would have to do is buy 2 of these 32 gig kit sticks of G-Skill Rip Jaws. I have this in my mother's PC for her NUC that she has. And I also have this in my notebook at work. So this is about $50 American, so that's another $100, right? So that's $760. You can get a nice 980 Pro NVMe drive, fast, 1 terabyte. This is going to be another $200 American, so now we're up to, say, roughly $1,000, right? And then Phil would just have to go to VIP CD keys, buy a copy of Windows 10, Windows 11. Phil's full of shit. He's not using Windows 7. He actually does have Windows 10 installed. There's a Meerkat video where Phil asks for help because he installed Windows 10 and screwed up his landscape. So he is using Windows 10. So right away, this will be a better system for Phil. Now, this isn't a 6-core, 12-threaded system. It's only 4 cores, 8 threads. But again, he doesn't need anything more than that for what he's doing. He's not playing games or anything like that. Right? Now, unfortunately, this doesn't have a capture device, right? So Phil would have to go with, let's bring this up here again. Go down to video capture cards, because I've actually been thinking about doing this, knowing that Perry's going to be playing Mario Kart, and I'd love to play Mario Kart with Perry and just insult him the entire time. Phil can get this brand new 4K pass-through capture device. Now, what is this? This is the XR1 Pro from EVGA. Like I said earlier, right? It's got 4K 60 FPS pass-through, 4K 30 FPS video capture. Now, Phil's not going to capture in 4K. Forget it. Like, he's just too stupid to set the settings for it. Now, this is going to allow him to do 1080p 120 frames per second, I think it is. Pretty sure from the EVGA site. And this just passes through USB. Plugs right into the computer, right? So there, Phil's got a whole new setup. He's going to be spending about $1,200 American, actually less, because this is probably going to be around $150 American, right? So he's going to be spending about $1,150, $1,200 instead of blowing $3,000, $5,000 on a brand new high-end gaming PC that he's never going to use. Okay, now this is just hypothetical. I would not suggest any of Phil's viewers go out, give him money for this, or go and buy it for him. Giving Phil money is a mistake because he doesn't learn, and you're enabling him by doing so. Now, you got to ask yourself, is what Phil does right or wrong, right? And this is a question that I'd love to ask Steve of the Dead. And shout out Steve the Dead. subscribe to his channel. I'll have it linked down here in the description. I want to ask Steve a question here. Steve, do you think Phil knows that what he does is wrong? Like, do you think him begging for money, him constantly lying, or him scamming people, do you think Phil knows that he's doing those things? Or do you seriously think that Phil is oblivious to it? Like how they think on the farms, that he's just a fucking denthead and that has no clue what he's doing. I agree with the farms on some extent, but my personal opinion is that Phil's an evil genius. He knows how to scam people because he's done it all his life, right? Scammed his friends, scammed his family. So Phil, for me, I think Phil knows what he's doing is wrong, but he doesn't care, right? Like, fuck you, I'm Phil Paul Burnell. I'll do what I want to get ahead in life no matter what I do, right? If I got to kill somebody, I'll do it, right? And like, I was just watching Steve the Dead's newest video here with the LGBTQ issue that Phil had answered here that he's been reported by a ton of people for. Now, that's just my opinion, but I'd like to know Steve's thoughts on this, because Steve's done a lot of work for this community, like a lot of awesome work. Except your latest video, Steve, it's not very long. Like what are you doing, man? Like, you got that 1 9-hour video, the 4-hour video. What was I supposed to do at work today? I had nothing to listen to. But no, Steve's a great guy. Shout out again, Steve the Dead. Now, that's basically going to be it for this video. I do want to touch base on some future stuff here. You guys saw the new intro to the channel, which will be the featured video on the channel shortly. That's from Meerkat. Shout out Meerkat Mob, formerly Meerkat Inc. He's been doing a lot of work for me here. He's starting his new job here tomorrow. So everybody drop by his channel, give him some respect, give him a shout out. Meerkat's helped me out a lot here, and I really appreciate it. And I love this community to death. And I'm going to be filming and doing more content. My stream itself is going to be improving here. I may get a webcam for myself. I'm not too sure. I'm not a big thing on having my ugly mug on the screen all the time. I do want to start doing some live streams here shortly. Meerkat is also working on a layout for me because I know none of that. Okay? And I'm going to admit that right now. I know nothing about creating layouts or anything like that. I know Piece of Piece and Leaf, they're really good at that stuff. Meerkat is just phenomenal at that stuff. So I asked Meerkat to help me out, and Meerkat's helping me out, so that's great. I do want to do live streams, and I am still working on that Cast a Dig Out video. That's probably going to be my first edited video. I have signed up for Adobe Premiere, and I will be doing edited content. I do have a lot of videos, as I did specify in that one video. I do have a lot of ideas coming up. I do have a lot of stuff in the works that I want to do here. I want to do some collabs with a lot of people in the industry. I don't want to do interviews with people from the Tismverse, okay? I don't think, like, Agent Proper, man, I love the guy. It's awesome. I listened to his OIC video live when he was interviewing OIC. I didn't particularly like it. Not Agent Proper or anything like that, because I knew right away that OIC was just gonna, we were giving him a voice, right? And you don't want to give somebody like OIC a voice within the community. Like, I know he's been on the farms and he trolled the farms tons of times and everything, right? But OIC is just as fucked up as Phil, okay? If not more so, right? Because OIC, like, look how much money he's given Phil. And even in that video, he said he had put $1,500 away to get Phil a new PC. Like, why? Like, that is just beyond fucking stupid. And even Peace asked him during that stream if he would stop supporting Phil, and OIC said he would And then what happened? Like 2 days later, he upped his super membership again. And I am going to be doing a membership scam video as well as a Patreon scam video. And I do have email contacts with Patreon regarding the scam. And I'm not talking about the Project 7 scam. I'm talking about the new one where Phil has basically refused to support his Patreon and he's calling it legacy support, meaning that he's going to be using it as a crowdfunding, which again is against the terms of service of Patreon. And then I'm going to be also be doing a video where it actually discusses TOS violations, community guideline violations that Phil has done. So things are going to be improving here quite a bit. And I do want to do gameplay with people, with my subscribers. And I want to shout out all the new subscribers here. Like, we're almost at 70 subscribers, which is amazing. Guys, I love you for this. Thank you very much. And stay safe out there. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.